And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome. My name is Hiko Simon. It is 10 p.m., 6 p.m. Japan Standard Time, 10 p.m. New Zealand time, I think is what you say for that. I am in Kerikeri in the far north of New Zealand, not in Japan tonight. And I had great plans for being able to do this live stream. I've had, since I arrived here yesterday in New Zealand, I had some ideas about what I'd be able to do with this that have gone out the window a bit. We had a huge day today, great day. Went and got a. My dad booked a charter plane for my uncle, my aunt, my son, and I, and we went to around the very top of New Zealand, Cape Reinga, and checked out a whole lot of stuff. It was a really, really big, full-on day. But I went for a run this morning. Went flying around the top of New Zealand today. Had a fantastic dinner, so it's great to be home, even though I've only been here once before. My dad moved back to New Zealand, to a part of New Zealand that I don't know. It's been great, but I am exhausted, slightly sunburned, even though it's not that hot. And I've had a great day. But what I've not been able to do is, one, catch up on Japan news topics from this week, because between wrapping up work and then traveling to New Zealand, I'm not up to speed at all. So there's that. And also the music setup. Now, my stepmother is a fantastic sort of music. She actually always has had the best sound system I've ever seen anywhere. She's a real music fan. And I thought, great, I'll go set up the DJ setup on that and set up some live impromptu streams and so on, do that for the whole 20 days that I'm here. And I do plan to do something like that. However, I found out she's thrown out all the stereo stuff and set up a really good internet-connected setup here, but one that's not so well set up for the DJ setup that I was thinking of doing. I've got to figure that out still, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So, and plus, between doing stuff yesterday and today and not sleeping for 2 days, I have to get here. I left Narita. Well, I left home at about 10 a.m. and left Narita at 2:30. And I arrived in Auckland 5 o'clock in the morning, and then in Kerikeri, where I am, got a connecting flight, arrived here at 9 o'clock in the morning. So pretty much 24 hours traveling and not really sleeping and having a busy day yesterday. It's wonderful here, by the way. New Zealand summer, I recommend it to anyone. It's actually pretty cold at night. It's like about 13 degrees Celsius at night, about 25 degrees during the day. So beautiful stuff here. The red value. The reason I'm doing this early is because I'm in New Zealand, and right now in New Zealand it is 10 p.m. And because I'm doing the old New Zealand go to sleep, wake up early routine, it means that I'm actually already passing out at the moment. So what I'm going to do today is I don't have prepared topics. I don't have the shared bar on the side of the screen. I'm not really prepared. If there's anything that you folks want to talk about, I'm happy to do that. If not, I'm just going to say, look out for some impromptu music streams. I'm still going to figure that out while I'm here. Just haven't had a chance. We've got Christmas coming up this week, although next week is the 29th, I believe. So hopefully all the house guests will be out. They'll be a bit quieter, and I'm looking forward to doing something like that while I'm here. But New Zealand, similar. New Zealand's like with the year 2000, a bunch of Pacific Island countries that were in the day behind, like ahead of New Zealand, but a day behind, changed their time zones to be the fastest country in the world. But traditionally, New Zealand's like the fastest country in the world. We're 4 hours ahead of Japan, especially because there's daylight saving at the moment. So this means all the folks in America are pretty much asleep right now. So I understand that. So folks in America, sorry about the timing. I think I'm going to keep this super short, unless you have topics that you want me to talk about. I can talk for a bit about what I'm doing here. It's not really about Japan. Maybe I can talk a little bit about Christmas in Japan or whatever. But anyway, I've got DJ Sunny Side Up coming in from Kochi. Great to have you in here. Say hi to the sheep. I went running and I saw sheep everywhere, and I said hello to every single sheep, and they were beautiful and adorable. I'm going to put that there so that the camera doesn't keep tracking me. I've got to fix the setting for that. Or maybe it will just keep following me. I can't stop it. It's stalking me. So, DJ Sunny Side Up, great to see you. The sheep definitely do say hi back. We've got Believe in Yourself third because he's counting me. I do appreciate that. Hello, Canada. It must be early for you if you're still in Canada. The Netherlands checking in. Anyone Swordfish, great to see you. And the red value, don't know if you're coming in from Austria or Germany or Japan, but yes, this is indeed early for me. Glad that you could make it. Believe in yourself. Went to sleep early last night. It was a very slow stream night. Fell asleep watching Wicked Virtue YouTube channel where they discuss the superhero universe, all genres, music, movies, comics, etc. That's pretty cool. Mr. Scotty Chap. Glad that you can make it. You're a little bit behind us. So it's during your day, I guess. It's time to fear because Shubis is not here. Well, of course, for Shubis as well, this is ridiculously early. No amount of coffee can justify this. So, Austria, that would explain it. Well, I'm glad that you could make it. So, look, I'm just going to leave a quick message to everyone. I'm going to try again to do this better next week. December 29. I'll certainly be back when I'm back in Tokyo. I'm back in Tokyo January 9, so whatever the stream after that is. I am definitely going to do some more music streams, but I'm not set up for it at the moment. Oscar Hafstad, roughing it through a late stream. Mad respect and to appreciate it. Hello, Norway. Good to have you in there. And this is early, this is normally a stream at 10:30 p.m. Japan time. This is 10 p.m. New Zealand time, but in New Zealand, everything happens earlier in the day as well. So, this is kind of late for me. I mean, I was passing out right before this. But yeah, look, great to see all of you. So like I say, if there's no topic requests right now, I might just call it a show and keep it short this week. If you want to hear about what I've been up to, I'm happy to talk about New Zealand for a moment. I can give some impressions of coming back. It's always interesting coming back to a country that I left 25 years ago, and it's changed a lot. So it's kind of funny. And coming back to a part of the country that I never lived in. Makes me realize I'm not really a New Zealander in my own country anymore. It's nice to come back here, but I've become comfortable coming back here as a tourist rather than expecting everything to be comfortable, which is really setting yourself up for severe reverse culture shock. But it's funny. I get the impression coming back that New Zealand is definitely, it's a great place to come to. I feel like coming here as a tourist. Anyone Swordfish, do I think Japan will fall into a country that relies on tourism from 2025 onwards? I really hope and believe that right now the yen, which by the way, to get to 156 yen to the US dollar this week, which is ridiculous. I mean, I still think that the yen normal value should be about 110 to the US dollar, at worst about 120. So it is way out of whack at the moment. But there again, I'm starting to think maybe this is it. Maybe this is permanent. And if that's the case, if the yen is this cheap to the dollar, it really means Japanese can't go anywhere and Japan will start to need tourism and will need to figure it out better. I think it already does. I mean, to the extent there's 38 million tourists who are coming in and are paying for hotel rates now and restaurant, bills and so on that Japanese can't afford. And that they're increasing like towns like Niseko that basically, rely entirely for their economy on foreign tourists already. And that's going to increase. I don't know about the entire nation, but certainly I think that global tourism is going to be from like basically zero in 2010, from a barely worth mentioning category. Even when places were decked out for tourism before 2010, it was primarily Japanese tourism, and having, international tourism was an inconvenience, if anything. That's already changed. I think already tourism's become an essential part of the economy, and I think that's going to be more so. And the fact that the yen is, and the economy because of demographics is in decline. I don't see a way out of that. So we'll see what happens. But back to the land of butter, indeed. I've certainly had some butter while I've been eating some wonderful bread, some wonderful butter. Had venison for dinner today. My dad makes fantastic food. The first meal here, we went to a vineyard that had a pizza. Beautiful part of the world, actually. I really do recommend it to anyone. If you want to check out my photos, I took a whole bunch today with the action camera, which I will post. I'll be editing maybe after this stream. I'll keep editing and I'll be posting them onto Instagram. You can follow me, Hiko Simon, on Instagram. And I post a lot of my running stuff and so on, but I'll post all my sightseeing stuff on there as well. So if you want to see what I'm up to here, and today's been an action-packed day, there's tons of stuff there, but yes. Okay, so the yen will rise up. Well, that's a good sign. The J vlog. Wow, glad that you can make it. You're going to look while making dinner. Well, I'm glad that you can join. Like I said, it's going to be a short one today just because I didn't have a chance. I've been so busy since I got to New Zealand. I haven't really had a chance to catch up on New Zealand on Japanese news. So I can talk about request topics, but not really this week's news like I always do. So, tourism signals the death of an economy. Not necessarily. I mean, there are countries in Europe that, for example, for Croatia, tourism kind of signaled the arrival of Croatia and ahead of its neighbors, right? New Zealand depends on tourism definitely, and did pretty much from the time that New Zealand lost access to the UK markets. We pivoted the economy everywhere, and tourism was one area where New Zealand put a lot of stuff into, and New Zealand economy is doing really well. So no, not necessarily. I mean, it certainly, again, to the extent that the country is expensive, that makes it difficult. It does feel a little bit like Japan's becoming like a Thailand, like a second tier, nice, good standard of living and everything, but second tier Asian country. I still don't think that's really its fate. I think there are a lot of factors that make Japan successful and will continue to make it successful. And I do think right now this is an anomaly, but it's a pretty long-lasting anomaly, so I could be wrong about that. But it ends up making property owners rich, but barely benefits the local populace. Well, if you're talking about south of Spain, there are places like that and so on, or Hawaii, for example, that is a thing. But there again, there are countries which have done well with tourism. But you're right, there is a question of managing it, so that certainly is true. People living in touristy areas, it really sucks for them. Well, again, there's mixed experiences. Again, coming from New Zealand, which I think has always been relatively good at managing tourism. Also, people don't necessarily live here. Yeah, Croatia, Italy, and Austria. Well, we'll see anyway. Anyone Swordfish, do I know why Japan really wants Paul Watson? Well, Japan's view is that they don't have an extradition treaty with Denmark, so they weren't entitled to the extradition, but they could request it. And to their mind, well, those scientific fishing vessels that Sea Shepherd, their tactics, Greenpeace would always stay within international laws. And Sea Shepherd sort of stole a whole lot of that, anti-whaling donation money from Greenpeace by being willing to go beyond that, to being willing to go into ramming ships and damaging equipment. And all of that was property of the Japanese government. And the Japanese government, for whatever reason, has decided that it is worthwhile pursuing its right to whale as something that, is a cultural right of Japan. And countries that have different cultures are fine, but they shouldn't be policing the cultures of other countries, is the argument of Japan, that this government decided to take up that argument. And so to the extent that you have people who are not from Japan, who are sort of, violently using violence against Japanese government vessels in order to stop them engaging in, cultural practices. They think that it's kind of a point of justice, particularly for a country like, Greenland, a quasi-country anyway, or like Denmark, that still recognizes whaling and it arrested Paul Watson. It's Paul Watson's brand is to be outside of the law on these sorts of things. So you'd think that, there's a good chance that they could, literally to make an example out of him would be the point. And certainly I get the whaler's perspective that, whaling's unethical, and these are people willing to take action to protect the lives of whales. And that the Japanese government, that the cultural argument is false. It's relatively recent in Japanese history, at least the type of industrialized whaling that Japan engages in is really like a wartime thing when there were protein shortages within the country. So there's no genuine historical or cultural argument to it. And, the Japanese government just sort of is rejecting a whole bunch of international norms that it signed up to as the argument of anti-whalers. And if you really believe that killing whales is the same as people, which a lot of people in New Zealand and Australia, this part of the world believe it, then, damaging some physical equipment is kind of worth it, right? So I get the arguments both ways and how he gets the funding for it. But, to the Japanese government, the point is, does the rule of law not apply to Japanese because they have a different culture, and they're trying to make the point. The problem is they're really setting themselves up to lose on this one, frankly. And, that's where I really question whether pursuing whaling is really, working out well for Japan. But there's a lot of people stuck on the principle. So, yeah. Question from Oscar. Any thoughts on all the tech billionaires kissing the ring and paying tribute to the returning Don of the US at Mar-a-Lago? Musk and Bezos influencing Trump towards much more space exploration funding. Do I have much thoughts? Well, there's two types. Musk clearly put himself ahead of the pack, not just kissing the ring, but, buying the ring and proposing with the ring. He pretty much, tried to position himself as like the number one funder, and Trump seems to have rewarded him. And certainly when you think as a space exploration fan, and thinking of the delayed Starship launches and the problems that they've had, and that they've been complaining that the FAA in America has been too slow issuing licenses and doing reviews of flights and so on. And now he's going to be heading up a government efficiency office, having real power, it seems, over the government. It seems like he's kind of bought his way into power there. I get the feeling the other billionaires, it's not so much that they've turned around like Bezos and decided to become 100% invested in backing Trump, which you have to think that's not going to last forever either. So surely that would backfire if you decide to be, like a full-on donor and everything. I think what Bezos and other billionaires are doing, in contrast to that, is they're recognizing that there's no real advantage to being against the government, which is the default position of the papers that he owns and other businesses. So pledging to cooperate with the government, that whatever side it's from, even if it's not the side you support, is always in your interest from a business perspective. And also, you have to read the room. Even if you are against Trump, or and your papers are going to go against him. Fact is that not only did Trump, win and beat Harris, but he won. He won on the popular vote, and the Republicans control both houses of Congress. So being against him is literally being against the government of America that chosen by the people. It's literally being against the actual clear choice of the American people. So I don't know. I don't think it makes sense for anybody. It would be as stupid, frankly, as imagine if the Democrats controlled both houses and Biden was the popular president, and some billionaires said that they weren't going to work with the U.S. president. It'd be the same thing. Setting aside how polarizing Trump is, I think in the end of the day, you got to read the room, and I don't think it makes sense, even on whatever principle, to oppose a president who's the chosen literally the chosen representative of the American people. I can say this because the Americans are all asleep right now, and I've tried to understand how we ended up in this place. And there's ways that I understand it. I understand that there's ways that people feel like the Democrats are still locked in the old-fashioned business as usual and not really listening to the people who vote for them. And Trump represents an outsider from the Republican. The Republican Party actually did switch to populism, which, literally, some would say listening to fringe parts of the party, but these are people who literally promised to break up and destroy the old politics, and the old politics not working for a lot of people, and the Democrats seemingly not listening to a lot of people who vote for them. Same with the Republicans, but on the Republican side, you have an outsider taking over. I get it. So yeah, from that perspective, I understand the tech billionaires who are not necessarily all in choosing the side and fighting for it. I don't know how smart that'll prove to be long term for Musk, but there again, it's working for him so far. But for the other ones, I think it's just being pragmatic. Will it result in more space rocket launches? I certainly hope so. I hope it doesn't work. I hope that the Musk favoritism doesn't work against Electron, a New Zealand company that's competing really well with SpaceX, or of course Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos. They're about to launch their New Glenn rocket, which will be amazing as well, and open up the possibilities for get everybody getting into space and humanity expanding, which I'm all for. However, at the same time, Musk and Trump have pledged to cut trillions from the US government budget, saying that they can find it just in efficiency. And if you ever listen to the arguments of, well, where does it all go? It's not easy to find that efficiency, particularly if you promise you're not going to touch welfare programs. And one of the big areas that you can see that a government at any time can easily decide to stop spending more money, it's spending money on space travel. It seems like there's a bit of a paradox between expanding investment in space and being somehow for cutting $2 trillion from the US government spending. And I don't know how they're going to resolve that. And I don't think everybody kissing the ring is necessarily going to make that problem better. It's a hard sell for something like that in times where, you're belt tightening. But you're right, they're all there. So personally, I'm always as a non-US taxpayer, I'm happy when US taxpayers pay for cool space stuff that I enjoy. But I don't, there again, it's up to Americans what they pay for. So we'll see what happens. I think it's understandable, but yeah. Anyone Swordfish, as the Japanese economy is not in a good state at the moment, I see a brain drain happening from Japan to other countries? I have a friend who's in the US who moved from Europe moved to Europe and went to the US. Sure, there's lots of young people who are definitely going to Australia on working holiday visas, knowing that they can save more money working, just the same as I came to Japan on a working holiday visa, knowing that I can make more money working in Japan than New Zealand. Is that a brain drain? A brain drain is really when you're talking about losing corporate talent and, talent like, for example, AI and science talent and so on. There's been a funny, when I first came to Japan in the 1990s, it was really popular for Japanese to go and do MBAs in America, like a rite of passage if you wanted to work at a big trading company or become senior management in a Japanese company. And since the year 2000, that's really died away. There's actually Japanese much less often now choosing to go and do MBAs or even go to foreign universities, and English is dropping off dramatically as well. So, but that said, if whether you're in Europe or Japan or anywhere, if you want to work in AI or these sort of leading tech places or whatever, they're all happening and they're all getting funded, and they're all happening in America, not here. There are things happening here, but there again, I think when people realize how much more money they can make by going to the US is doing a great job of supporting and attracting tech talent, and it will continue to do that. I don't see as much brain drain, frankly, as there should be. Given the ability to own patents of your own that you come up with, to get pre-IPO stock as compensation on the and to get funding. Right now, particularly in AI and the tech areas that I work in, it does make more sense to be in America. But Japan being Japan, and particularly because you've had this 20-year drop in Japanese really learning English or showing an interest in studying overseas, I think there's a lot of Japanese who would if they could, but they're not in advantage to take advantage. They're not in a position to take advantage of that. But I think if things don't change, that will absolutely increase. And that has to be a concern for the Japanese government. So yeah, it's happening, but not as much as it should. Kerberos Tenshi, good morning from an airport once more. I'm glad to hear that you're at an airport. Oh, are you traveling or working or what? But it sounds like good stuff. I hope you to get to your rental car in New Zealand in a bit. You know what? I looked at the rental car places where I am. I'm in a town of like 2,000 people in the far north of New Zealand. Admittedly, a lot of wealthy retirees live here, and it's really popular for vacations, particularly for wealthy New Zealanders up here. So I went to go see how much it would cost me to get a hatchback per day, thinking I might just get a rental car for 20 days. Per day costs New Zealand $450, which is probably about $400 US. In Japan, you pay on the current exchange rate, like just over $50 a day for a nice car. Here, you got to pay $450. So, yeah, my dad's got a car. I'll borrow that when I need it. It's pretty nice just hanging out around the house as well. So, yeah, I would love to be rallying around. There are some great roads and some great driving in this part of the country. I do want to drive on 90 Mile Beach again. I only got to drive on it for 200 meters last time. It's a bit of a drive up there. We flew over it today. It is beautiful, the far north of New Zealand. I'll show, as I was saying before, I'll post photos and videos and stuff onto Instagram. You can see, but it really is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I'm also getting a reminder, by the way, how the light in New Zealand is amazing. The colors are amazing because it rains and sun and rains and sun. So the greens are spectacularly green. But also, the southern hemisphere is when the southern hemisphere has summer, when the southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun is actually closer. The moon is the Earth is closer to the sun during the southern hemisphere summer than it is in the northern hemisphere summer. So this time of year, even when it's not hot, the sun is really strong and it makes colors here just pop like crazy. So it's extremely colorful, and it is great to drive and explore. And I hope to do some of that while I'm here. But yeah, Fish Flower Voice, nice to see you in the comments there, popping in to say hi. It's rare that you're able to catch the show live. Oh, this is from Hope. Great to see you, Hope. Hope you're doing well. Continuing to be interesting times in AI. But also glad that you can make it. I always, of course, do this 4 hours from now. In fact, 10:30 Japan Standard Time. So this is definitely working better for me. But yeah, Oscar, exactly the same experience as what you're saying. The Japanese friends is that they are, to some degree, language locked by not being proficient enough in English to get jobs in Norway. I think that's the case everywhere. And I think if that changes, Japan will have a massive brain drain. In fact, there's an argument that teaching English could work against Japan because they'll lose a lot of talent. I mean, who knows? Forget about tourism. Japan might become dependent on remittances. Who knows? Dan H, good to see you. I hope you're enjoying, yes, indeed, a bit of New Zealand tonight. I've been talking a little bit about New Zealand, a little bit about Japan. What can we do? $400 a day is just ridiculous. I think it's just because there aren't many rental car places, and there's a lot of rich people who come up here to spend their end of year. There's summer/Christmas holidays because of Southern Hemisphere. It's summer right now. It's beautiful. But that is a lot of butter, indeed. I'm choosing to spend my money on butter and borrow Dad's truck if I need it. And I haven't driven yet. Like I said, today I was in a small airplane flying all over the place. It was awesome. Actually, on the small airplane, we landed in the far north of the country, and they landed. I've got a video of the landing in a strong crosswind on a grass airstrip on top of a hill on a farm. So it literally goes over the top of the hill and pulls around like in the small plane. It's crazy, but a lot of fun. New Zealand dollars, 450 New Zealand dollars, and maybe someone can do the conversion, but I think that's around 400 US. It might be less than that, but it was ridiculous. Anyway, certainly 4 or 5 times what it would cost to get a runabout car, and that was for like a hatchback. So certainly 4 or 5 times what it would cost to do in Japan. Yes, and I'm taking 360 video. I am doing that Cobra Tenshi. So look, it is we're 23 minutes in. So I guess I can run up to the top of the half hour. Like I said, for those people arriving, I definitely want to set up the DJ setup. I thought I was coming here to an awesome big, studio type music stereo setup. However, the house has been changed. So it's great. You can listen to music in any room, but it's not set up to plug in a DJ system as well as it used to be. So I'm going to set up my own setup. Maybe after Christmas, there's a ton of guests coming tomorrow, spending Christmas with my dad and I and so on. So I'm going to be in a house of like 6 is 5 plus 3. It's going to be like 8 or 9 people over the next few days. So it's going to be pretty busy. But hopefully the 29th, next Sunday, will be I'll be able to do the stream a little bit better and be able to do more stuff. But yeah, what am I going to take back to Japan for souvenirs from New Zealand usually? For work, in a Japanese company, you always get something that you can share with lots of people. So I'll probably find some chocolates or something. Or actually, I like to go to the supermarket and buy like the gift packs, the assortment packs of New Zealand chocolates, like chocolate bars and mini versions, like a Mars bar, Flake, Picnic bar, Moro bar, all these sorts of things, and share those with people. However, for home and stuff like that, people maybe for special souvenirs, Manuka honey, which comes from New Zealand, is very good and very expensive in Japan, sometimes up to $100 a tub. And you can get it relatively cheap here. So yeah, maybe mostly food, just stuff I really, really like. I did try one thing. As soon as I was waiting in the airport, 5 o'clock in the morning, I got one of my favorite New Zealand sweets, something called a picnic bar, which is it's a chocolate bar with like honey and nougat and nuts in the middle, and it tastes great. But I had that at 5 o'clock in the morning. Pardon me, still shaking this cold at the moment. And it was too sweet. I cannot handle the sweetness of New Zealand sweets anymore, which is a good thing. It means I'm not eating sweets, because when I eat them, I literally get a headache and my eyes start spinning and stuff like that. Even the stuff that I thought wasn't so bad. But I'll probably get some mini versions of those to share with people. But yeah, honey. I don't know if anyone has some ideas of what might be good souvenirs to take back from New Zealand. That would be it. My wife is working, but my son is with me. So that's actually really nice, putting my son in an all-English environment for 3 weeks. It's going to be a long time. Oh, geez. Okay, so the New Zealand dollar is doing even worse against the US dollar than the Japanese yen is by the looks of it. So there you go. Still ridiculous for a rental car. You can absolutely get for 8,000 yen a rental car for a day in Japan easily, which is what, about $50. So still 5 times what you pay, what you normally pay. I think it's about the same in the US, but there you go. Favorites, yes, indeed. Ben Duncan, good to see you, man. Long time no see. Glad to catch the show. Glad that you can make it. I'm sorry, like I said, I came unprepared because I've just been in New Zealand for 2 days and it's just been full on since I've gotten here. So no music set up, no Japan topics or anything. But yeah. The red value, yes, I took 3 weeks off work. If I had shortened the trip by 1 day, coming back or leaving, the air ticket would have cost me 1 million yen for me and my son each. Whereas going the times that I said, it cost basically 130,000 yen. So, what's that, about 8 times cheaper? Just end of year, not many flights to New Zealand. So even on economy class, it was extortionate to come shorter. So I just asked work. I've got tons of holidays built up, and I'm just taking the time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, definitely a good idea for the rental car costs in Japan. If you're just going for a K car, which are awesome and are totally good enough, and they're great fuel economy, I recommend. I mean, maybe if you're taking family, maybe you want something more comfortable, but that's very affordable. Rental cars are very affordable. You can look it up. So yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. So all of that, I got a decent airfare, but the million yen airfare was ridiculous. So I had to decide either not to come to New Zealand or to get 3 weeks. That was the only way it was going to work. Could I bring back a New Zealand dairy cow and just plan to uproot the Japanese butter industry? Well, the Japanese butter industry would not allow me to bring back a cow and grow milk. I think you have to have all sorts. You have to be signed up with all the agricultural associations. You have to be hooked up with the domestic monopolized distributors and so on. I mean, I've explained the dairy system in Japan, and it's not as easy as just bringing back a cow or even a large dog that you can milk. I'm pretty sure you get regulated for that as well. So that's all pretty locked down. I've been enjoying the butter. I've had a lot of butter. And yes, the butter has been butter booming. And it has been great. The fresh bread has been great as well. So yeah, lots of healthy food as well. I'm in an orchard district. I'm actually where a lot of the Zespri kiwi fruit come from. So it's nice getting all of that fresh. So I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the beautiful weather. I will be, like I said, I'll be better prepared for a show next week. But I'm very glad that you can all join me for this. I'm amazed I've got 16 subscribers. What I am going to say is between now and next week is going to be Christmas. Will I be baking any Christmas cookies or cakes, says Oscar. We are going to, I think tomorrow, be having a pavlova. If you don't know what a pavlova is, go look it up. There's two things that you need to know about pavlova. One, it is the best cake in the world. And two, it was invented in New Zealand and definitely not in Australia. With apologies to all Australians present. And as a half Australian myself who sat at dinner tables, with the argument being had on the specific tour of the ballerina Anna Pavlova and the various different hotels at different points of her tour of New Zealand and Australia who claim credit for inventing the Pavlova cake in 1910 or whatever it was. But it is considered our greatest invention in New Zealand. And yes, we're having some of that. I won't be making it. My stepmother will be making it. But geez, we had some. Just even the banana cake today was spectacular. So all the food here has been actually awesome. It's part of the reason I'm also, by the way, in Tokyo Marathon training mode because that is going to be, I think, March 2nd. So basically, 2 months from now. So, and I'm in a beautiful part of the country. Not a lot of varied runs, at least from the house. If I want to run around the block here is 31 kilometers. So it's practically a marathon practice. And I am not fit enough for that. I stopped running for a couple of weeks. But I'm going to do some, 6Ks and some longer runs and see where I go. I'm going to see if I can run every day, which I don't normally do. I've got a rule to prevent injury of not running consecutive days. But I think if I really take it easy and pick an off day, a quiet day for a shorter, slow run, something like a walk, and then I do a long run day. Yeah, I really want to do that. So, and I'm going to take photos of the scenery. The scenery is all pretty much the same. It is sheep, it is grass, it is hills, it is cows, and they are all beautiful, as you will see if you check out my Instagram. So that's a great way to keep in touch. By the way, Mike Zilla, glad that you can make it. Something you didn't even think about was the bread industry in Japan. I don't know what there is in the way of a bread industry in Japan, but there are great bread shops in Japan, in Tokyo in particular. You can find great German and French bread shops. But the standard Japanese bread, I've never actually been much of a fan of. It's like quasi-cake bread. It's too sweet for me. But you can get some great bread shops. I'm very lucky that I've got a good bread shop near the house, like a French-style bakery. But that said, here you get the real German sourdough and stuff like that, like real brown, heavy breads, which are great. And I'm enjoying those. So, yeah. Anyway, do remember to like the video. I do appreciate it, of course. Do have a fantastic, if you celebrate whatever your holiday is this week. A lot of people are having one. If you're having Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that stuff, or just having, Christmas tree and presents, or hell, even if you're in Japan and working, which is what I would be doing most years. Enjoy all of that. Enjoy the old emperor's birthday on the 23rd. That isn't the emperor's birthday on the 23rd anymore. But have a good week, everybody. And yeah, wherever you are, I do appreciate keeping me company. I was thinking, geez, this time of year, would people even tune in? But 17 people tuned in. I can't believe it. But that said, how was the surf? Oh, man. When I was going around today in the far north, I didn't think they had surf up there. I was on a small plane flying over these beaches. Chef's kiss. The beaches were spectacular, like green, clear, transparent. They actually had silicate sand, like bright white sand, like not just like a typical nice white sand beach, but like actually you could actually mine for silicon chips and glass. Spectacular beaches. You can see sharks and stuff, but bronze whalers, not stuff that would attack people most of the time. And I saw good surf today, so great surfing up here. I was actually looking and thinking, geez, we got out and hung out at one beach. And I was like, damn, if I had a longboard here, longboarding more than shortboarding type surf, but beautiful, beautiful, really beautiful part of the world. I encourage you to look it up. The far north. I'm staying in Kerikeri in the Bay of Islands, and we went right up to the very top of New Zealand today, 90 Mile Beach in Cape Reinga. And beautiful surfable beaches up there, and not many people, seriously, like, no crowds or anything like that, and spectacular looking and great waves. So pretty much as good as you can ask for. But there we go. Not like American bread. I remember American bread when I went to the supermarkets in Seattle, and I had trouble finding bread I considered edible from a Japanese or a European perspective. So yeah, bread was a real challenge. I was really surprised at how few bread shops there were in Seattle. I would assume that like New Zealand or Australia, where there are lots of fresh bread shops, I was expecting that in Seattle and was really surprised that there weren't. And I don't know if it's just a Seattle thing that people just don't like good bread. But yeah, I was very disappointed at that indeed. Japan's actually doing pretty well for bread shops. In fact, I think Japan actually does better than at least Seattle that I saw. So, yeah, anyway, everybody, thanks again for keeping me company. It is late. I'm probably going to go edit some Instagram videos and photos from today, so you can catch up with me there. But yeah, have a good Christmas to everybody, and a good whatever else you celebrate, including work, if that's your thing. I'll be back here next weekend, better prepared, and I'll definitely try to get some music going during the week if I can. But yeah. It's great that I can still do this even from New Zealand, even at a different time. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody, and have a good one. Boom. Peace. Ka kite, which is a New Zealand way of saying see you later. I'll see you later. And Merry Christmas indeed. Right back at your Red Value. Do appreciate that.